So I'm really excited. We've got two panels here this afternoon. The first one is going to be moderated by Lacy Wolf, Principal Industry Liaison-Construction, Gulf Coast Workforce Board, Workforce Solutions. We've got Leonard Aguilar, the Secretary Treasurer of Texas AFL-CIO. Michael Lewis, Director of our Center for Electromechanics here at University of Texas, Austin, and home of the Hydrogen Proto Hub, which hopefully a lot of you will go see that Wednesday morning. And Krystal York, Senior Engineer of Low Carbon Resources from the Electric Power Research Institute. So I'll turn it over to Lacy to take it away.
Thank you, Brian. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Glad to have you here. And of course, our topic for today is driving the hydrogen workforce, the innovation from development to deployment. And like Brian said, I have with us Krystal York. Krystal is a senior engineer for the Low Carbon Resources Electric Power Research Institute. Hey, Krystal.
Oh, yes. Hello. My name is Krystal York, and like they said, I'm from the Electric Power Research Institute, which is a nonprofit that mostly in the past has focused on researching with the electric sector, so a lot of electric utility members that we partner with. And then in 2019, we started this Low Carbon Resources Initiative, so it's not just hydrogen, it involves the renewable fuels, ammonia, and researching all parts of the hydrogen value chain as well, so from production, delivery, storage, and end use. And why I'm here today, though, is because I lead our workforce development program called H2EDGE, or the Hydrogen Education for a Decarbonized Global Economy. It's a long acronym. But basically, H2EDGE, we've been doing a lot of stuff on both the university side as well as the professional side. So creating course material with our partner universities, one of those being the University of Houston, so very nearby. And then we've also been developing course material at the professional level as well. And then we hosted a workshop recently, and if you visited our website, you'd be able to see more of all of that information along with a summary and all of the slides that were presented at our workshop. So yeah, that's a little bit of a summary, but I could go into greater detail later.
Thank you, Krystal. And to her left, we have Leonard Aguilar. He's the Secretary Treasurer for the Texas AFL-CIO.
Yeah, how is everybody doing? My name is Leonard Aguilar. I'm the Secretary Treasurer of the Texas AFL-CIO. For those of y'all who are not familiar with that, we are the union organization that works for all the unions in the state of Texas, from teachers to hotel workers, to correctional officers, to steel workers, to construction workers. My personal background is I came up as a plumber, pipe fitter out of UA Local 142 in San Antonio, Texas, many moons ago, and now I have the great honor of working for roughly 240,000 union members across the state of Texas.
All right, thank you, Larry. And to his left, we have Michael Lewis. Michael is the Director of the Center for Electromechanics from the University of Texas in Austin.
Thanks, Lacy. Good afternoon, everyone. So the Director of Center for Electromechanics. The Center for Electromechanics is an organized research unit here at the University of Texas at Austin. We focus on applied research and development. We are full-time researchers, not faculty members. We do collaborate with faculty and bring students in as much as possible. So participating on this workforce panel it intrigues me a lot, and it speaks to what we like to do when we try to get students into our labs. Really getting them the hands-on experience beyond just the analytical and theoretical experience when it comes to hydrogen. I've been in this hydrogen world for about 20 years. Here in a couple of years will be 20 years doing hydrogen research. Which is, hydrogen is a little interesting world. You've either been in it for 20 years or you're just now getting into it, and there's a big gap in the middle. So when you talk about workforce development, I think this is an emerging area that offers a lot of promise for the new workforce and students and young people out there.
All right, thank you, Mike. And of course, I'm Lacy Wolf, and I'm the Principal Industry Liaison for the Texas Workforce, the Gulf Coast Texas Workforce Board. I've had over 40 years in the construction industry besides teaching and tons of other things, but of course now my primary concern is the workforce and trying to get us employed, get people employed for the hydrogen hub. So we'll start with the questions. I'm going to go with the technical side of it, so I'll ask both Mike and Krystal the first question. The first question that I have is hydrogen more important as an energy source than both nuclear, LNG, other sources of energy, and why?
I am not going to rank any of our energy sources. I think we need like all of it at the end of the day. Our demand for energy is just going to keep growing, and we're going to struggle just to keep up with it. How I will answer that question though is I think hydrogen is a very important piece to all of our energy technologies. It's the one thing that can knit them all together, whether we're talking oil and gas, nuclear, renewables, even when we're talking about ammonia and e-fuels, sustainable aviation fuels, hydrogen is a key component to all of that. It's a fundamental component to a lot of our chemical industries today. So how we can green that up, use it to make other green fuels or help enable electrification of our systems. We're going to need hydrogen energy storage for all of our renewables on the grid, for example. We need, making hydrogen from oil and gas, from natural gas, and collecting the carbon is another clean way. So hydrogen is very important in knitting together all of our solutions and helping all those solutions decarbonize at the end of the day. So that's what I feel about hydrogen. It's going to bring everybody together.
Thank you. Hey, Krystal?
Yeah, and I definitely echo the same type of thing. We need kind of the all of the solution approach. I don't think ranking them is the answer here, but I think the energy transition needs all of the solutions. And if we want to meet the growing demand for energy demand is increasing like crazy, not just in residential and industry, but everyone keeps talking about data centers as well. We need to be able to meet that demand with all of the solutions. And also if people sometimes, whether they're doing it on purpose or not, phrase hydrogen as like the silver bullet, it's gonna solve all of our problems. And if you start telling communities that, they may be like, well, I heard about this renewable stuff, and all of the other solutions that they may have heard of. So you need to put hydrogen in the context of the overall energy transition, or communities will feel like they're being misinformed, which we don't want to do either. So, yeah.
All right, thank you. Leonard, from a labor union perspective, what role does organized labor play in ensuring that workforce training programs are accessible and that workers are prepared for these emerging technologies?
I appreciate the question, Lacy. The thing that we can do, or the thing that we are already doing, and I don't know how many folks in the room here are familiar with the union apprenticeship programs that we have out there. The registered apprenticeships, which are the gold standard across the board, coming down from the federal government as far as from the Department of Labor. Those are the programs that are established and have been established for decades. And that's what's going to help us get to that next level. But it's not just with those registered apprenticeships and how they work. Just in a nutshell, how those registered apprenticeships work. It's a union and it's a contractor partnership. There's a joint apprenticeship training committee that comes together. So you'll have unions on one side of the table / apprenticeship, and you'll have contractors on the other side of the table that come together to figure out the needs. They'll sit down, they'll talk about work demand, right? What is the forecast of workers? How many workers are we going to need? What type of workers are we going to need? And how are we going to cater for our contractors and make sure our contractors are taken care of? That's something that we are very proud of in the partnerships that we have in our building trade side of the house of what we're able to do and how they do that and how they're able to also just create the training programs for the need. As the needs arise, the training programs are created if it's something that is not already established and set. And that's another thing that is an advantage to these already established registered apprenticeship programs. So as you're going through and you're looking for opportunities on how to get this done, there's already a model there that we should look at and we should really try to take advantage of. In that same space, Lacy, we have what we call our pre-apprenticeship programs that can help funnel to these registered apprenticeship programs. And this is something where we're getting into what I heard the previous speaker talk about, these communities, these disadvantaged communities. These pre-apprenticeship programs through the North American Building Trades Union it's called MC3 or Apprenticeship Readiness Program, which I have had the honor of helping establish here in the state of Texas. And we have grown these programs, now we're in 4 different cities across the state. And you'll hear some more about it later on. But being able to establish that as a starting point, to be able to talk to women, to be able to talk to veterans, to be able to talk to people of color, and get them into the fold. There's a demand out there. Yes, we're a little bit short in certain areas, but also we're short on good paying jobs. So we need to make sure we take care of those workers that we're looking to bring into the fold, but at the same time, we need to make sure that we're taking care of those workers that are already in those industries of oil and gas, and find a transition that's going to help take care of them in the same process. Because these individuals have been working for years, decades, their entire lives in this specific industry. So the pre-apprenticeship program, the registered apprenticeship program are proven models, and just having to tip the hat to the Texas Climate Jobs Project. Not sure if y'all have heard of that organization, and also the Texas Construction Career Pathways. Look at those 2 organizations. I happen to be an advisor for the Construction Career Pathways. They are doing great work. Statewide work now, started out in Houston. Now they're going to be in Austin and in Dallas here in the next couple of months. Getting those communities, getting those workers that typically don't have the opportunities. But this is something that we already have a model in place that can help. It isn't a one piece fits all. This is just a piece of the puzzle. Everybody has to bring their piece to be able to get this done.
Thank you. Mike, at UT Center for Electromechanics, how are academic institutions adapting curricula to reflect the growing need for expertise in hydrogen technologies?
That's a really good question. I would say that it's slow to adapt right now, but at the same time, like the fundamentals that are going to be needed for these engineering students aren't changing, right? The physics, the thermodynamics, and that's really what the university's trying to develop are those core skills, and hydrogen is just like another application of those skill sets. I think there could be, maybe some more introductory type classes, right? Like, here's another pathway, right? Here's something emerging in the energy sector that you might want to think about. I am starting to see some of that with the classes. I've been a guest lecturer in different, like, say, a petroleum and geosystems engineering class to come in and talk about hydrogen. So faculty are starting to bring it into kind of more of their traditional classes that are already part of the curriculum. So I don't think there has to be a wholesale change in what the university is doing there. On my side of things, Brian, when he was introducing, mentioned the Proto Hub we have. That's a hydrogen R&D facility up in North Austin at the Pickle Research Campus. There is a tour of it on Wednesday morning if anybody wants to come see it. But that's a facility where we have relatively large-scale electrolyzers and steam methane reformers and fuel cells and vehicles. And it's something that we're focusing now on and trying to turn that into a kind of a learning center or a lab for students to get the hands-on experience. So this is sort of a little anecdote, but I've done a lot of student group tours these past several months as we've been building that site out. And I'll ask the students to identify an electrolyzer or a compressor within this one piece of equipment, and they don't know which is which. They know all the physics and math and thermodynamics behind them all, how they work at the end of the day, but they've never seen the hardware. So I think that site's going to offer a great opportunity for students at UT to get their eyes on the hardware, even if it's just for a few days coming out to the site or just a tour of it. So that's one thing I'm excited about with what we're trying to do.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Krystal, from the standpoint of low carbon research, how can industries like electric power best collaborate with educational institutions to ensure we are preparing engineers who can meet the technical demands of hydrogen deployment?
Yeah, there could be a lot of answers to that question, but from the standpoint of what we are doing at H2Edge, our Hydrogen Workforce Development Initiative, we are trying a couple different avenues. So like Michael was just referring to, like implementing some more core hydrogen into some of the already existing curriculum. We did a lot of outreach to universities. Oh, and that map is all of our university partners that we currently have. And we would talk to them and they were like, it's really hard to start a full new class of just hydrogen. So how can we help them with their existing courses and maybe implement some hydrogen material already in there? And so we did develop some maybe like standard materials through our partner universities, which is the University of Houston, the University of Delaware, that has a strong fuel cell lab background, and then the Oregon State University. So they came together and developed some materials that we made openly available to all of our other affiliate universities. But what professors sometimes do need is that one-on-one engagement. So you can't just hand them material and expect them to just teach it if they don't really have that background. They could have maybe the starting background of like energy, something related to that. But a mentorship program is kind of what, especially those professors from those more underserved universities need. So that's one thing, so helping the professors. But on the student side, we started this capstone program, which will be starting here shortly and really kicking into high gear in the spring semester. But basically, that also took a lot of work. We wanted to be able to distribute the opportunities to, like I was saying, those more underserved or maybe those universities that don't always get these opportunities. So we did a lot of outreach to HBCUs or historically Black colleges and universities. And there's also some mentorship going on there with subject matter experts at EPRI, the Electric Power Research Institute, supporting those capstone projects. So not just a professor at the university helping, but a subject matter expert that is doing the research. And the capstone projects, we are also making them widely not just applicable to hydrogen, so like I was saying, the energy transition overall, and also not just for engineers and scientists, trying to get more of those, maybe there's someone on the business side, so like techno-economic analysis, implementing that into it, and also maybe there's some LCAs, so life cycle assessments we can build into there. So different, not just the core engineering and science, but what are those other skills that we need in this industry as we start to move forward into a more sustainable pathway? Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
Lacy, if I
Yes,
might, maybe
please.
thinking about a hydrogen curriculum specific course, one thing, I maybe going back to my comment that I started with how hydrogen like intersects all these different areas of energy. It intersects all the disciplines of engineering at the end of the day. I wouldn't even know what department at UT would host the hydrogen course because it crosses over chemical, electrical, mechanical, civil, petroleum, all of them. So it's like, I don't know, it's just an interesting energy industry or whatever there that's emerging that's going to really tie a lot of them together. So I wouldn't even know where you start. I don't know who you pick.
Yeah, and a lot of people have those core electrical classes, core mechanical classes, but we have heard a lot of feedback from some professors that they don't have as much of that electrochemistry courses, or they're not as strong in every university that has an engineering program. So upskilling in that area is important.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot. Thank you. Thank you for that. All right, Leonard, you've heard Mike and Krystal. So with that said, how does this change the labor's pursuit of the training and the education?
I don't think, I mean, it doesn't change the labor's side it doesn't change labor's piece of the puzzle. We all have our own piece that we have to work on to try to get, so we can complete this puzzle and get this project done. Labor is good, and building trades are good at what they do and how they do these apprenticeship programs, and it's something that we need to expand on, and it's something that we need to have more opportunities at. These projects are great, and these projects are here, or a lot of them are here because of opportunities that are coming down from the federal government, and we just need to, it's almost a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And as we have these things, again, when we're trying to, we shouldn't recreate the wheel. We already have in the specific part of the trades and the construction side of the house, we already have models in place. Again, from the pre-apprenticeship that we're doing in the Texas Construction Career Projects and other programs, but across the state through the TCCP and how that works and how we can get to the next step and how we can bring more people into the fold. Again, it's coming down from the federal government. We have to make sure we're taking care of the workers. At the same time, we have to take care of the contractors and or the employers. This is a joint effort. Nobody can do this alone, and this is something that we have to work together on. And trying to figure out how we get that done and where we can get that done. It's great to hear all of the great work happening in Houston, but Texas is a big state. And there's a lot of opportunities. I think we talked about it on Friday when we had a quick call amongst the group here. There's a lot of opportunities across the state of Texas, and we need to figure out how we are ready in these different areas of the state to make sure we have that skilled workforce. And what the Texas AFL-CIO can do is help bring its affiliates, its unions, from the beginning to end on that side. It's not just the building of the project, but we also have to take care of the project when it's completed. So it's the maintenance, it's the upkeep, it's taking care of that. And we have those affiliates and or members that can help do that. And at the same time, I just want to kind of, if we can shift a little bit, these projects are massive, and they're gonna take thousands and thousands and thousands of workers. But we can't forget about everything else that comes along with these projects. When you're gonna start building these facilities, and you're gonna start building these, you're gonna have to, these areas are gonna start to explode and start to grow. So you're gonna need workers to take care of the new schools that are coming up. Well, guess what? Texas AFL-CIO has teachers that are there. You're gonna need hotels that are coming up to take care of these workers that are gonna come in to build these facilities. Texas AFL-CIO has hotel workers that can take care of that and help with that. And on down the line to the construction workers that are gonna be there to do that. We can train the new ones, and we can help bring the new ones and transition those that already exist with the knowledge that they have. So it's something that we are, I think, in a decent position to do, but it's something that we also have to keep in mind that it's not just this specific project or this industry, it's everything else that's gonna come along with it, because it is going to be a draw on local resources, and we have to be in a position to go ahead and take care of it.
And follow up on the training also. So can the apprenticeship programs upgrade their curricula and training to become hydrogen specific? Or maybe fill in some specs towards that?
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say they can do that. I think they've already started doing that in different parts of the country where they're creating or they're upskilling the training that they're doing, the current training that they're doing. So we can do anything when we come together, when we put our minds to it. It's just a matter, we have to make sure what we're trying to obtain. As we're trying to make sure that we have these employers that are in place, we need to make sure we have the skilled workforce that is taken care of to go ahead and lift these contractors and these employers to that next level. I think, to answer your question, yes, I think we can take care of that and get that done.
And then a question for the panel. Since I come from the workforce background, and my job is now going to be to assist employers to be able to bring on more people, employ more people, better training, everything else. What do each one of you see the workforce boards around the state of Texas being able to do for the industry, for hydrogen, maybe something in particular for where you come from? What do you know about workforce, in other words, that they could help you?
Well, I don't know if this is exactly answering the question, but it's something I've thought about a little bit with this workforce, and maybe like how the hydrogen training, do we need it, do we not need it? What are the new skills that are needed? And much like I talked about the engineering curriculum, there's a lot of existing skills are going to be directly applicable to this hydrogen industry. But there are a lot of skills that are going to be new and different. If we're talking about moving hydrogen around, that's going to translate very well to existing oil and gas industry. If we're talking about making hydrogen from natural gas or thermal processes, that's likely going to translate pretty well. But then when we start thinking about the electrolysis production of hydrogen, now suddenly we're in a whole new realm, right? We've got hydrogen, gases, likely at some kind of pressure, and we have high voltage DC systems, which is a whole problem on its own. It almost needs its own separate training and workforce development. High voltage DC is new, relatively new for us, right? But you're going to see it in solar arrays. You're going to see it in big battery systems. So it'll be interesting. I would like to see like the prior presentation from Hark, like what they're trying to develop around hydrogen. Where does it overlap with some of these other industries, especially on the electrical side. He highlighted electricians are needed, but there's synergies there, right? It's another example of hydrogen mixing with everything, right? But that's going to be, I think, a relatively interesting skill set to develop. Somebody who can understand the high pressure gases along with the high voltage DC, right? And I realize you have plumbers and electricians, and those are largely separate and possibly by unions, but at some point the person working on the electrolyzer stack is going to be up against both high voltage and a hazardous gas at the same time. So that's one area when it comes to this workforce development that I think is going to be very unique, and a lot of curriculum and schools are going to have to focus on that aspect and training that worker.
Great.
Yeah, I guess I would pivot to kind of the awareness aspect, like especially in, I don't think we've touched on this too much yet, but the K through 12 schools, like getting them aware early that these jobs even exist, like you don't know what you don't know, and then maybe they don't know that they don't need to go to university. You could go to labor and do some hands-on training right away. So that's one thing. And awareness just that that hydrogen has existed, and there are networks, and there's systems already set up, like you were saying, for training unions. But we do need to integrate that new, like there's new safety considerations, so bringing up the awareness there, bringing in those organizations that are already working on safety, like everyone should know of the Hydrogen Safety Panel, and then also, I think that was, I had a thought there, hold on. The Hydrogen Safety Panel, and knowing that you can work with these people. Like I heard of a story from the Pacific Northwest Hydrogen Hub that the universities were like, oh, they need, the unions and the trade organizations need hydrogen training, so we're going to build that for them. It's like, well, they already kind of had their own system in place, so instead of just going over their head, working with them is an important step to do first. At least talk to them first before saying you're just going to develop this training for them. So those are a couple of my thoughts.
Okay, thank you, Krystal. And Leonard, same question. How can workforce help you?
I think workforce, in Texas is a big state, like we said earlier, right? I mean, there is 254 counties, I think.
Ask Betta, he's been to them all.
Yeah. And with that, there's 28 different workforce boards. And I think communication is going to be key. Communication amongst the workforce boards. It's simple. It's simple. We need to be able to talk with each other. We need to be able to communicate with each other. What happens in East Texas necessarily isn't going to resonate in West Texas, and in South Texas to North Texas. And so we just need to be able to communicate, have an honest conversation about what the facts are and what's important and how we can move forward. It is something that, it's like I said at the beginning, we are one piece of this puzzle. We don't have all the answers, but we have a lot of them. And I'm talking about labor itself. And so we need to be able, we're willing to share those, we're willing to work with, we're willing to try to figure out a path forward and how we can address the issues that are there. And it's something that I think again, moving forward, this is just something that it's a perfect opportunity to set the trend here in Texas and show the country how this can be done and how it should be done. Working together, working hand in hand, and making sure workers aren't taken advantage of, and making sure we're taking care of our employers at the same time.
Great. Now I know this coming up is almost similar to what some of the folks up in Pittsburgh had with their big cracker plant. This is a lot bigger than that. But so this is on a personal note. I know how this makes me feel. I mean, I'm excited. I'm ready to jump into this and let's put people to work and let's grow our economy and do everything else. But on a personal note, and I like what Mike had told me a couple of days ago, so I'm gonna start with him. How does this make you feel, Mike? How does it make you feel all of this is coming and it's almost right here at our doorstep right now?
Pretty excited I didn't waste 20 years at UT researching hydrogen, probably, to be honest. But yeah, I think it's on a personal level, very rewarding to see kind of the research I've been doing for years. But I see the potential for hydrogen to really help us decarbonize the world, bringing together all these different forms of energy. The investment with the BIL and the hydrogen production tax credit, I think, are great things to jumpstart this economy and to get it off the ground. And I really think it's going to play a critical role in helping us reach our climate change goals right down in the future. While also at the same time, if I don't mention this, Alan Lloyd in the audience is going to like hit me whenever I get back to the office. But beyond climate change, hydrogen also represents a great pollution benefit for us, and it has direct health impacts to those local communities where it is employed. When it starts displacing fossil fuels, diesel, natural gas, whatever that we're burning and combusting in these areas, it's going to immediately have a direct health impact for folks. So it's far-reaching beyond just climate change, and it is going to, it's going to be an enabler for a lot of the other technologies to come on board and renewables. And yeah, I think it's not the end-all solution, but it's a key piece to it that will really, I believe, will really make a lot of these other solutions work better.
Absolutely, thank you. Leonard?
Repeat the question.
Yes, I will. How does this make you feel from a personal standpoint, emotionally? Let's put it that way.
I'm excited. I'm excited, and I'm just looking forward to what we can do. We can do great things when we come together. And again, that's the thing that I'll say it over and over and over, and hopefully we can start doing it. There's so much bad stuff happening. This is where we can actually come together and we can affect some positive change. Again, taking care of workers, taking care of the contractors, taking care of our planet, just taking care of us. There's a lot of great people in this space. There's great people up here on this panel and great people that are working on this across the state. And this is something that we can do. And it's just, I'm excited for the potential of what we have in front of us.
Great. And Krystal?
Yeah, I'm excited for the potential as well. And I kind of relate to what Mike was saying about helping communities and helping especially those areas that have been historically underserved and disadvantaged, helping them with and hopefully improving the air quality, improving the water quality. It's a holistic approach we need. It won't just be hydrogen that will be doing all of this. And I am also excited for a new project that I'm on that's specifically going to be engaging with the community in the Atlanta area. It's a DOE-funded project through the Hydrogen Fuel Cell Technology Office, and exploring how we can co-create like actual benefits for a community and a plan for engagement, and making sure that they are well informed and well engaged and effectively engaging those communities is something I'm really excited about.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, before we get into the question and answers, which we will have right now, I just want to remind everybody that our panel's bio is on the website, and you can see them there, full bio on them, and they're open to any questions now that you might have for them.
I'll say while you're thinking of your question, if you're not able to make the tour of the Hydrogen Proto Hub site on Wednesday morning, I believe out in the networking area, there's it's a video of it's playing on one of the television monitors, so you can get kind of a virtual tour of it.
Winner, winner.
Mike and Krystal, this is really for you. As you I mean, I agree this is an all-of-the-above solution required to solve this energy transition challenge ahead of us. What do you consider to be the most significant technological challenges facing hydrogen for it to really transcend into its what could be a very major role in energy transition for this country, well, for the world? What major problems do we have to solve for it to really kind of let hydrogen take over? Not take over, but the potential be realized.
So you started by asking that with technological challenges. I don't know if they're, the technological challenges, I think there's always going to be better ways to produce it or use it, right? We can always improve the efficiency of things. I think the biggest issue right now is infrastructure, right? So I don't know how many in the audience are familiar with DOE's H2 at scale vision, but it's got all these little circles all over this graph, and the ones on the left side of the graph are how you make hydrogen. The ones on the right side of the graph are how you use it. On the right side of the graphic, we kind of know how to do a lot of that today, and maybe we can make all that better. But that graphic largely ignores how you connect those two, right? It's got a big blue H2 in the middle of it with a bunch of stuff under it that we're just not talking about in that graphic. And I think that's the hard part is how do you move the hydrogen around? How do you connect it to the consumers? There's a lot of talk. I see one of my colleagues here, Ning, who's all about the demand side of this equation, right? We can make this hydrogen, but how are we going to get this demand up? Well, part of that is actually getting it connected to it. So I think that infrastructure is one of the harder things to solve right now. And it almost looks impossible, right, to think about a hydrogen pipeline network across the U.S., but we have trains and we have roads now. We have natural gas pipelines. It can be done. It's going to take some time and investment. But I think that's the big piece or enabler that'll really launch the hydrogen economy. And the hubs are start, right? Doing it in discrete locations. Eventually they will get interconnected and then start to serve a bigger area or region.
Yeah, I wish I talked first because I was going to say demand.
Okay.
Yeah, because the demand side is, like, I just got back from a conference that happened in DC with some different hub people, and hearing the word, I never thought I would hear so many people talk about demand and NEPA and 45B, but yeah, I think we all know about that. But yeah, so it's like the people won't change over the way they are making, the companies won't change over the way they're making hydrogen until, the way they are, sorry, let me give an example. Like the steel industry won't change the way they're making steel unless they're certain about where the hydrogen is coming from. And the people making the hydrogen don't want to make the hydrogen until they know the demand side is there. So it's like, we all know the chicken and egg problem. So yeah, I would definitely say demand, and I think it was very smart of the DOE to separate out $1 billion of that dollars for their demand side initiative. If you know about that, it's being run by EFI Foundation, so I would look the demand side initiative up. That was a really good thing that they set in place. So yeah, I would definitely say demand.
Yeah, so question, probably more for Leonard and Lacy. So this is kind of a personal question. So when you're thinking about workforce development, especially in the space of hydrogen, how do you think, what do you think the role for University of Texas should be?
Take it. You go.
I mean, I think what's happening now, being a partner in how we figure this out. Again, the expertise that the University of Texas has is important. It needs to be shared. And so in the different spaces that you are already in, and then we can bring, again, our piece to this puzzle. And so just that collaboration and working together, I mean, it's vital to the success. Having the University of Texas is vital to the success of this.
Absolutely. And we're you are the brains. We're just the muscle. We're bringing the workforce. So, spell it out for us. Just say, hey, we need this. We need some funding here. We need better training. We need bigger classrooms. What do we need to help to become a partner in moving this forward?
And I think if I can just expand on that just a little bit, is just, again, to have those conversations and where we can get better or where we can help fill a void if there's a void in training, or how we can just help with what we do and get into that space and help get it done. So.
Thanks, panelists, for the really interesting conversation so far. This may be a weird one to go down, But everyone has a varying degree of Elon Musk. But it's hard to argue that he's made electric vehicles sexy. He also has a negative impact on hydrogen. Do you think this negative impact can be overcome, and how would we do that?
What?
I mean, you're setting me up
What was
to
the
make
question?
some comments I shouldn't say, potentially.
Could you hear what I was saying, or is it the accent?
Oh, well, so I guess my take on this is, yeah, he calls fuel cells fool cells, right? Preaches on and on about the inefficiency of hydrogen, and that's true, right? It takes a lot of energy to produce hydrogen. When you turn it back into electricity, for example, in a car, you do lose a lot of that energy. It's nowhere near as efficient as a battery electric vehicle. I get it, it's all true. But I think there are times where you care about efficiency, times where you don't, right? If we start looking about curtailed renewables on our grid as we're ramping those up, we're gonna have extra energy, and hydrogen gives us now that form to store that energy long term, which batteries wouldn't be as well suited for, and not as cost effective for. I think Elon probably has his own motivations for why he has some of these views. But what frustrates me most about those types of comments is the competitive stigma or whatever around it, right? We've said it multiple times, there is no one solution. You're gonna need all of it. All these different forms of energy excel in one area or another. So it seems silly to me for battery people and hydrogen people that two of the more zero carbon technologies we have, right, are our best ways to decarbonize, to be fighting over who's the best one. That's just, that's not benefiting either side of it. And I think, and at the end of the day too, if you look at a fuel cell vehicle, it's got batteries on it anyway, Elon, come on, and often, I mean, not always, hybrids aren't always the best solution, but we've shown, at least in vehicles, that they do a great job, right, and improve things. And these hydrogen battery system is gonna work very well together, right? The strengths of the battery versus hydrogen. So, yeah, I think, those comments sometimes frustrate me, especially whenever I run up against a Tesla fanboy in the community, but, yeah.
All right, my question is mostly for Leonard and Lacy, but probably others. It builds off of what Brian was talking about, but it's broader. So some of the industry players have talked about how they have their own training programs. Krystal was talking about how schools are developing programs without talking to labor. And then, as we know, labor has apprenticeship programs. But Leonard mentioned how the different workforce development boards need to be able to communicate with each other. So, asking you all to solve massive, huge issue. How do you bring all of these different groups together to talk to each other so that we're not reinventing the wheel over and over again?
Jump there.
Hi, I have a good answer for this one. That's something that we're trying to do at H2 Edge through a number of different things. So we had a workshop back in July to bring together a bunch of different stakeholders all in the same room to discuss these issues. And I would strongly recommend looking at our summary and some of the slides from that on our website. But all of the stakeholders were in the room. We had a building and construction trades union guy. We had a bunch of different people. So co-developing those solutions is very important and getting them all into the same room. And then also making people aware that all of these organizations exist. We're trying to do this through an upcoming mapping type exercise on our website where you'll be able to see who in your area or region is doing some workforce development related things. And we will be going and doing a lot of work and surveying and sending out these surveys to get people on this map. And then it'll be available on our website and you'll be able to see who is in your region so you can work with them. And then also see who are in different regions that are doing something that you're interested in and maybe want to replicate. And then you can reach out to those people and be like, how did you do this, for example? So different things like that. Yeah.
A quick one for Leonard. When you talk to your members, when you talk about hydrogen, how much a concern is safety, and how do you address that concern?
For me? Yeah.
About safety, you said? Safety is key. I mean, that's one of the first courses, I guess, that is given and that we take. Safety is priority, and that's something that we need to remember. And as we're trying to court these new workers and trying to make sure that we have these projects where we can actually staff them, is we need to make sure that they are safe for everybody coming in. So safety is at the very top, one of the top issues, not just for these projects, but in general. That's something that I can say with our contractor partners across the board. That is something that they wholeheartedly agree that safety is number one. I'm going to say close to the top, if not the top, is you have to have that. And just as that pre-apprenticeship program that I was telling you about, that apprenticeship readiness program, that is one of the main things, because we're able to we get somebody in OSHA 10 of first aid and CPR right off the bat. This is a 3-week crash course to get somebody an idea of what it is to be a construction worker, but not just a construction worker. If you want to be an electrician, if you want to be a plumber, if you want to be a crane operator, if you want to be an elevator constructor. That way also, it's not better for the worker, it's better for the employer on the back end, because the retention rates are higher. And that's something where again, the partnership and finding out where we can help our employers at the same time. But to answer your question there, safety is number one, without a doubt.
Maybe one last super quick question. Thank you. And this is CJ from the Petroleum Department. So I have the question just like, well, as you mentioned, just like, it gave me one of the feeling, just like the hydrogen. Actually, we talk about the hydrogen today. It looks like it's the new topic today. But actually, the hydrogen has a long history of the production, utilization. As Michael just mentioned, the hydrogen as the raw material for the chemical industry. And for the hydrogen production, we have the coal gasification to producing the hydrogen, different color of the hydrogen. So my quick question, just like what is the new things for the hydrogen today we just discussed, and what is the novelty, for this kind of the topic, and also just like what kind of the motivation make the hydrogen hot again for today? Yeah.
I think one thing to keep in mind is, and I'll be really quick, is that yes, hydrogen has a long history and we've been producing it, especially in the Gulf Coast region for a while, but the scale that we're trying to build to is new, and there's a lot of new areas, so maybe Houston knows it very well, but there's a new hydrogen hub in the Midwest, in the Pacific Northwest, and in the Mid-Atlantic area. So the regions that it's coming to is new, as well as the scale. So I would like to keep those two things in mind.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly, right? How we make hydrogen, many different feedstocks, it's going to enable us to make it in many different locations. The existing hydrogen business and industry can be leveraged for a lot of this workforce development. But as I mentioned, like earlier on the panel too, like when we start thinking about electrolysis equipment, for example, and fuel cells, suddenly now this is in new areas and new applications. If steel or cement start adopting hydrogen, and that's not a gas that they've dealt with before, right? So a lot of the applications are going to be new to hydrogen. So there's a lot that we can leverage and learn from, but it's got to get applied to new areas and new industries. So
yeah, vehicles too.
Yep, vehicles.
From my location in Michigan, that's what a lot of us are talking about, is the vehicle industry for our automotive. So yeah.